Discover God for yourself. That's our devotion, taken from Judges 6:25 to 32. Yes, Judges 6:25 to 32. I'll read by the grace of God. That same night, the Lord said to him, take the second bull from your father's herd, the one 7 years old, tear down your father's altar to Baal and cut down the Asherah pole beside it. Then build a proper kind of altar to the Lord your God on the top of this height. Using the wood of the Asherah pole that you cut down, offer the second bull as a burnt offering. So Gideon took 10 of his servants and did as the Lord told him. But because he was afraid of his family and the townspeople, he did it at night rather than in the daytime. In the morning, when the people of the town got up, there was Baal's altar, demolished, with the Asherah pole beside it, cut down, and the second bull sacrificed on the newly built altar. They asked each other, who did this? When they carefully investigated, they were told Gideon, son of Joash, did it. The people of the town demanded of Joash, bring out your son. He must die because he has broken down Baal's altar and cut down the Asherah pole beside it. But Joash replied to the hostile crowd around him, are you going to plead Baal's cause? Are you trying to save him? Whoever fights for him shall be put to death by morning. If Baal really is a god, he can defend himself when someone breaks down his altar. So because Gideon broke down Baal's altar, they gave him the name Jerubbaal. That day saying, let Baal contend with him. All right, so a very interesting account there. And we're calling this Discover God for Yourself because Gideon was actually approached by the Lord and told that he will be able to deliver his people from the Midianites and the Amalekites army. And he was like, okay, my clan is the least in my family. How is this going to be? And God tells him, just go in your strength. You will be able to prevail. And so Gideon tells the Lord, you know what? I will put this flea here. If there's water in it in the morning, I'll know that you are with me. And the next day he tells the Lord, now, instead of the water in the flea, why won't you put it around it so that I will know that this is what you are saying? And God did just that. And Gideon, as a judge, delivered his people from the attacks of the nation around it. But Gideon had to discover God for himself. Hence the title, Discover God for Himself. Why? Because Gideon was told that he was going to build an altar to destroy the altar of his father, Joash, right? And like many of us, sometimes we say, you know what, I come from a religious home. My dad is a pastor. Well, my mom has always been a church goer. And I think that counts for something, right? Well, not right. You have to know God for yourself. Gideon had a personal encounter with God. And because of that, we see something that is very unique, and particularly because there was an altar of a foreign god that was set up for worship in his place. And he's told, put it down. And because he feared the family and the townspeople, he did it at night. He did it at night, right? So sometimes our families can actually be a hindrance to us knowing God. Sometimes our families, quote unquote, perhaps they've been church people. They had this heritage of church, right? And you feel like, well, I think I'm safe hanging on to my dad's faith. But if Gideon was like if that mindset of Gideon was like that, he's being actually told, pull down that altar that your father did bring up. And that's not an easy thing. It's as if you're going against your father. And so sometimes we hold on so much to our parents' faith, yet not really wanting to know God for ourselves. Had Gideon hung on to his father's beliefs, Indeed, we see that his father was not really somebody who acknowledged God. But later on, when his son's life was in danger, he said, "Way, don't you think that if let me get that." He says this: "Are you trying to save him? Are you going to plead Baal's cause? You know, the very foreign god that he had set up. He's now standing with his son because now he's saying, whoever fights for him shall be put to death by morning. If Baal really is a god, he can defend himself when someone breaks down his altar." So by now, at least I see that the man Joash had started adding 1+1, and it's like, well, my son, yes, I know he put down that altar that I put up, but I want to agree that he did the right thing. So for some of us, we might need to actually re-evangelize to our family members, re-evangelize to them of that long heritage, because perhaps it's just religion. It's not salvation, right? And now you who has been called, like Gideon is being called, is being told you're mighty man, you are a warrior, you're wondering, okay, but my people have always been Christian, and so on and so forth. But today we are discovering that we have to know God for ourselves. I have to know God more than my parents did. I have to find out my journey with God so that I do not also get mixed up. Just supposing that they were not properly positioned, I could be the one to change the course of my family's direction, especially with regards to God's law, or maybe the future of our families. So this is something that is very introspective, I believe, very, very introspective. It helps us to look inwardly and say, do I really know God for myself? Are there altars that I need to pull down that were set by my forefathers? And that's not a cheap thing. It's not. You will have to, maybe like Gideon, he did it at night. Maybe his father would have seen him pulling down that altar. Nah, it would not have been nice, because you're going against what your father has done. And for some of us tonight, we might need to make such prayers, bold prayers to our family members, that the Lord will save them out of religion. For some of us, so that they may also know God. For some of us, we may need to step out of the shadows of our parents, because maybe your father is a pastor, maybe they are lay readers, maybe they are this and that, they hold a position. They are choir teachers. They've been serving in ministry for 30-some years. For some of us, we may need to actually step out and have our parents also say, yenyewe, if that God called Baal is a God, he needs to defend himself. If people would come and say, hey, why are you not following the God of our fathers? There is a lot of tradition. There is a lot of tradition behind who we are and our faith as well. Some of this interferes with us getting to know Jesus personally. And my prayer for us is that we will know God, and not just the one whom we had. It is good, because also there are some of us, our parents have truly stood firm. They have stood the test of time. They have walked with Jesus closely. And because of that, we are who we are today. Their prayers have covered us. But also, can we now know this God of my father, this God of my mother, who is he, and know him and embrace him in Jesus' mighty name? Amen and amen. Well, it's coming up to 24 minutes.